I am able to achieve my goals.
I am able to achieve my goals.
And what do you notice on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being that's the truest thing I've ever said, and 1 being, oh, that's the craziest thing I've ever said. How true, how believable did that feel when you said that?
6.
6. Right.
So I believed it, but not all the way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, it's 6 is certainly better than a 2 or 3, but it's certainly not as good as an 8, 9, or 10. Right. And I said just a minute ago that this stuff gets into people's heads by accident. It's not like Cheryl went to Starbucks one day and got a big cup of coffee and said, hey, and put a shot of not quite sure I can achieve my goals in there. And then she drank that down and said, oh, that's so good, give me another one. No, this stuff, it gets in our heads by accident. From society, culture, religion, parents, teachers, friends, what we've seen, what we've experienced, and it becomes this law in our head about this is who I am and this is how I live my life and these are the things I do and these are the things I don't do. And so Cheryl's got this law in her head that says, well, I'm kind of able to achieve my goals. So now again, she's got 1 foot moving towards the front door and 1 foot moving towards the back door. Now this is the bad news, is that stuff is in Cheryl's head and it's very much having an impact on her overall quality of life, not to mention her business success. That's the bad news. But the good news is when we play with things from this quantum physics, energy, change can happen quick perspective, is just because that's there today, just because it's there right now, doesn't mean it's going to be there at the end of the show. Because in fact, it's going to be different. And when we change what's going on inside our heads, our results change as well. And so while I'm talking and Cheryl's talking, there's things going on multiple levels here. We're actually doing some work on changing the nature of her consciousness, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, that's still what we're doing. But just real quickly here, Cheryl, I just wanted to welcome our listeners again here on Real Coaching Radio, but also we're simulcasting to Blog TV, to Stickum, to Now Live, and to MyRS for Living. So all those folks, welcome to the show here. And we're doing some cerebral sanitation engineering here with my good friend Cheryl. So, now my background that enables me to do what I'm doing, which it probably doesn't look like I'm doing much, like I said, work is happening on many different levels here, is that about 20 years ago, I lived in the Philippines. I studied with an energy healing master. I became an expert in understanding the human energy field. And I've worked with thousands of people from terminal cancer patients on down to headaches. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a little aha moment and I realized, wait, okay, I really understand energy. Quantum physics says everything is energy. So if I put those 2 sentences together, then I must really understand everything, which of course I don't. But what's true about that is I can look at any aspect of a person's business or life from this energy viewpoint and see things that they don't see. I can see their blind spots. I can see the limiting beliefs. I can see their head trash. So having Cheryl say, I'm able to achieve my goals, I didn't just randomly pull that phrase out of a hat. I was actually looking at her energy field and reading what was there and seeing that was an issue. So there, having her say it, A, she gets an experience of it, and B, it kind of lights it up on my screen so that I can work with it easier. Now, during the show, you'll see me sigh every so often, and that's just what happens when energy shifts and moves. I don't know why I do it, but I do. So Cheryl, say, I am able to achieve my goals.
I am able to achieve my goals.
Now, does that feel any different from the first time you said it?
Yeah, it felt a little more positive, actually.
A little stronger, a little more believable. Right. Now, here's the question is, okay, if you just said the same thing 2 times but had a different experience of it, how can that be? Well, if you said the same thing but you had a different experience, that means you must be different. And we have actually started to rewire your thinking patterns to allow for different possibilities to show up in your life. Now, this is, if we stick with old school thinking, that change is a long, hard, slow, difficult, painful process, then what we just did is impossible. But if we embrace new school thinking and quantum physics and that sort of thing, then change can happen like that. And where we can, we can actually change this where you're going to be a different person by the end of this phone call, and you're going to have better access, better possibility to achieving your goal. You're not going to be fighting yourself. And, it's easier if both feet are walking towards the front door than if you're dragging one foot along.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be thrilled to be at the end so that I.
Now, the kind of an analogy, a metaphor for the way this works is, imagine that there was this stream, and in the middle of the stream was a big rock. It doesn't matter if there's a lot of water in the stream or not so much water. There's always going to be a disturbance there because there's this big rock. As long as water's flowing in the stream, there's going to be a disturbance.